Hello, class. Some of you may have noticed yesterday that my eyes are really red and irritated, and it turns out that I have pink eye, so I can't be at school today. Doctor's orders. I have to be home and resting. But you still get to learn thanks to our friend the internet. So watch this video. I'm going to go over the normal lecture I'd originally planned for you today. I'll give you some other instructions about other assignments that you need to do towards the end of class. You will be taking some notes, so go ahead and have your notebooks out. And yeah, let's get started. Before you begin, I forgot one thing. If the Substitute has not already given it to you, you need the two charts that I left on my desk for them. One is a chart that has nominative, accusative, dative, and plural written across the top, and you're going to be putting the definite and indefinite articles and adjective endings on that chart. In the other chart, it's a little busier, and those are for pronouns, and it'll have like 1, 2, 3, 3M, 3F, 3N written down on that side. Those are the two charts that you need for these notes. Some of the stuff you'll want to write in your notes, some of it you want to put in the charts. If you're not sure how to fill out all the charts, that's okay. I'll kind of go over them again tomorrow, but make sure you start on them today in class. All right, so now let's jump into the notes in the lecture. Guten Tag. Heute ist Donnerstag, 27. August 2015. Heute Sie brauchen einen Bleistift oder einen Kuli und deine Notizen. Also bitte nehmt alles aus und wir beginnen. Heute wir diskutieren Grammatik und am Morgen, Freitag, wir haben ein kleines Quiz über die Themen von dieser Woche und auch vielleicht eine Diskussion über Deutschland heute. For our German impaired, we are talking about grammar today, and tomorrow we may still have our recap quiz. We may need to go over a few things before we do that, and we may still have our Deutschland heute discussion depending on time. So let's begin. A few things first. Don't forget, tomorrow you will have a note check, so make sure you have your binder there and your notes. I will be checking for those. Also, we will be having our first Euro check of the year. €6 since I'm not here today to give you one. €6, not 7. And also, do not forget, if you haven't turned it in already, your parent signature sheet is due tomorrow. All right. Also, on announcements, our first German club meeting will be next Tuesday, September 1st, before and after school. If you're unable to attend, let me know and tell me what date would work for you better than Tuesdays. We will be discussing officer elections, which will be later this month, and we will also be planning a possible game night for September. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, you can either ask me tomorrow or email me through Google Classroom. So let's begin. Real quick on cases. You guys should know this. Shouldn't be very difficult for you. The case of a word depends on its location in a sentence. If it's in the nominative case, which will be abbreviated as NOM and should be in the blue font, that is the subject of the case, or subject of the sentence. For example, Der Charles kauft ein Buch für seine Mutter. Der Charles is the subject. He is the one doing the action in the sentence, the verb, in this case kauft, which means to buy, and he's doing that to the other stuff in the sentence, which brings us to the accusative case, abbreviated as AKK and in the red coloring. The accusative case is the direct object of the sentence. It is having the verb done to it. In our sentence, Der Charles kauft ein Buch für seine Mutter. Ein Buch is the direct object. It is a thing being bought by Der Charles. And dealing with the rest of the sentence, let's take a look at the dative case, abbreviated as DAT and in the green coloring. It is the indirect object of the sentence. It is not having the verb done to it directly. However, whatever the verb is being done to is being done on behalf of the indirect object. Der Charles kauft ein Buch für seine Mutter. He bought a book for his mother. All right. If you have any more questions on that, email me. We've talked about this a whole lot. Should be fairly straightforward for you guys. Now, a little bit on articles. Again, this should be pretty simple. The article tells the gender of the noun. This is the der, die, and das. For definite articles, those translate as the. In the nominative case, if you're dealing with a masculine noun, it is der. If you're dealing with a neuter noun, it is das. If you're dealing with a feminine noun, it is die. And if you're dealing with a plural noun, it is also die. If you're in the accusative case, the masculine article is den, the accusative article remains das, excuse me, the not neuter article remains das, the feminine article is die, and the plural article remains die. In the dative case, everything changes. The masculine article becomes dame. The neuter article also becomes dame, an M, and the feminine article becomes der, and the plural article becomes den. Okay, moving on into indefinite articles now. The nominative case, this is, again, back up here. Indefinite articles are a or an in English. In the nominative case in German, masculine nouns take ein, neuter nouns take ein, feminine nouns take eine, and you actually can't have ein or eine for a plural because you can't have a puppies, a flowers, a teachers. Okay, indefinite articles implies only one. But keine, which means none, follows the same rules as the indefinite articles. So we throw that in there. So keine is our example for plural. In the accusative case, einen is the masculine article. Ein is the neuter, which stays the same. Eine is the feminine, again the same. And keine for plurals, again the same. And like with definite articles, in the dative case, everything changes. Einem for masculine, einem also for neuter, einer for feminine, and keinen for plurals. Okay, now we're going to take a look at pronouns. Pronouns are the things that take the place of a person, place, or thing, the proper noun. So instead of saying, Herr Anderson has pink eye, we say, he has pink eye. Ugh. Okay, for singular, regular singular pronouns, first person nominative is ich, first person accusative is mich or mich, and first person dative is mir. This is when I'm talking about myself. Second person, that's when you are talking about another person in that conversation and you're talking to them. Like I am talking to you. For nominative, it is du. For accusative, it is dich. And for dative, it is dear. Dear. Excuse me. In the third person, masculine nouns become if they are in the nominative case. If they are accusative, they become ihn. And if they are dative, they become ihm. With neuter nouns, the nominative becomes s, the accusative becomes s, and the dative becomes ihm. With feminine nouns, the nominative becomes sie, the accusative becomes sie, and the dative becomes ihr. Now let's take a look at the plurals. First person nominative is wir, first person accusative is uns, and first person dative is also uns. In second person, the noun becomes ihr in the nominative case, euch in the accusative case, and euch in the dative case. For third person, the noun will become sie in nominative case, sie in accusative case, and ihnen in dative case. And then we have to deal with formals. In the formal, and that's when you're talking to an adult or a boss or a stranger, someone you don't know very well, you will use sie for the nominative case, sie for the accusative case, and and ihnen for the dative case. And remember, on formals, the first letter has to be capitalized regardless of where it is at in the sentence. Okay, now we're going to take a look at possessive pronouns. These are nouns that show that something is mine or yours or theirs. First person is mine. Second person is dein. Third person masculine is sein. Third person neuter is sein. And third person feminine is ihr. With plurals, first person is unser. Second person is euer. Third person is ihr. And third person, formal plural is also ihr. Okay. Now to look at reflexive pronouns. And these are used with certain verbs that require a reflexive pronoun. We talked a little bit about that last year. I'll remind you more about it when I'm in class. But reflexive pronouns, only used for the accusative and the dative case, so you'll never have a nominative reflexive pronoun. That doesn't work that way. First person is going to be mich for accusative, mir for dative. Second person is dich for accusative, dir for dative. Third person is always sich for accusative and sich for dative. Okay, so you don't have to worry about whether it's a he, she, or an it. In the plurals, first person for both accusative and dative is uns. Second person for both accusative and dative is euch. And third person for both accusative and dative is sich. Okay, now we're going to take a look at adjective endings. Adjectives endings have to show the gender of the noun that they are modifying. Okay, we don't do this in English. We talked about this at the end of the last year, so this still might be kind of new to you. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it. We'll get through it. Okay, when you're dealing with masculine words, if it is in the nominative case, a adjective will take er at the end to show, again, we're showing the gender of Garten. Garten is der Garten. So das ist ein großer Garten. In accusative case, you have en, großen Garten. When you're dealing with feminine nouns, you use e at the ending for both nominative and accusative. Das ist eine nette Wohnung. Ich wünsche mir eine nette Wohnung. And for neuter nouns, in the nominative and the accusative, the adjective endings are both es. Das ist ein schönes Zimmer, and ich wünsche mir ein schönes Zimmer. A little more on adjective endings. Since ein has no plural form itself, the plural adjective ending is e in both the nominative and accusative case. Das sind tolle Gärten. Those are wonderful gardens. Ich habe zwei neue Lampen. I have 2 new lamps. And in the dative case, all endings are en, regardless of masculine, feminine, neuter, or plural, as you can see in the examples. When more than one adjective is used, both have to have the same ending. Okay, so if you have 5 adjectives, they all get that same ending to show the gender of the noun they are modifying. Okay, and that should be our notes for grammar.